So for the restaurateurs out there, when do you define post-COVID in terms of things getting better? Will things ever for restaurants look as they did in 2019?
Yeah, we think about that question a lot, and obviously that's very much top of mind for our restaurant partners. We think for dining to really return back to pre-COVID levels, all the way back, a vaccine will definitely probably be needed. However, we do see dining demand starting to pop up. Recently, we ran a survey at OpenTable, and 25% of our respondents were saying that they were dining out at least once a week. So that demand is definitely there. Now, of course, safety precautions are very, top of mind for both our restaurants and diners. And so, they want to make sure that the restaurants are keeping their patrons and their employees safe, mask wearing, table spacing, all of that. But we don't know when it's going to come back to pre-COVID levels. We think likely it'll be, after a vaccine is out there and available for people to take. But we are seeing signs of life, and we know that diner demand is there. People are itching to get out and eat.
And in the meantime, throughout this pandemic, you've been launching a bunch of new features in response to the changing way that consumers are using restaurants. Tell us about takeout and experiences, which are two of those new features.
Sure. So yes, as you said, we've recently launched a myriad of different features to adapt to the quickly changing environment around us. So we launched takeout, and what that means is for diners, it's a really convenient way to browse a restaurant's menu, order a meal, and pay all from your OpenTable app. And for restaurants, it's great because it's an additional revenue stream. We also released what we call safety precautions. Like I mentioned before, safety is very top of mind for both restaurants and diners. So when you come to OpenTable for each restaurant that you're looking at going to, you can see a list of all the specific and health and safety initiatives that restaurants are following to keep their diners and staff safe. We also recently launched experiences, like you said. So this can be anything from a happy hour or a prefix menu or a chef's table. We see a lot of demand for this, even now when, people are still not completely comfortable going out and eat. But there is this hunger and need for special occasions and these types of experiences.
Debbie, what's going to happen when it gets colder in the fall? We won't have a vaccine then, and people are probably not going to want to go inside restaurants, even if they are allowed to do so.
Yeah, we think about that one a lot, too, and it's very much top of mind for restaurants who are right now experiencing a great surge of demand, right, because it's summer and dining out is so popular and prevalent. I imagine that takeout and delivery will continue to gain share, especially in the colder months. People now are much more willing to order food and, get it delivered or go and pick it up. So I imagine that's what's going to be one of the main lifelines for restaurants during the colder months.
So anecdote here I'm hoping you can respond to. A friend of mine from high school has a Michelin-starred Thai restaurant in Manhattan, and she had to permanently close it this week because she couldn't come to terms with the landlord. Now, she and her husband do have two other restaurants that are doing takeout, but the one that she had to close is kind of OpenTable's bread and butter. How many of those kinds of restaurants that have space that need the efficiency that OpenTable has traditionally delivered, how many of those do you expect to lose? And what are the conditions that are going to be needed to bring them back?
Yeah, so as Steve Hafner, my predecessor, mentioned a few weeks ago, we expect about 1 in 4 restaurants to close and not be able to return because of COVID. That's pretty much on track. Unfortunately, we think now that number might even be conservative. And like you said, restaurants are going through a grueling time right now. Having to pay for their wait staff, rent, as you mentioned, is a huge cost. For restaurants like that to open back up, any type of government aid that can be given to them is amazing and necessary. But also, again, people have to feel comfortable being in an enclosed area and feeling safe to be around other people. A lot of the restaurants you talked about, right? Space is a constraint. So people aren't going to feel safe likely until there's a vaccine, until they can they know that when they're in close spaces, that it's going to be okay.